Hey, Kentucky, this is Mary Jo Perino. Tonight, phase one of the state's reopening plan gets underway. Lynn Bowden and Logan Stenberg hear their names called in the NFL draft, and I'll go one-on-one with UK assistant Vince Marrow. All that and more is next on Hey, Kentucky. Welcome into Hey, Kentucky with LAX 18 Sports Director Keith Farmer. Did you have a good weekend, my friend?
It was very good. And hey, happy Derby week.
Yeah. Is that what time it is? It's Derby week?
Right.
It's
well,
so crazy. Yeah, we do wish. All right. Wishes can keep coming because today marked a significant step in Kentucky's journey during the COVID-19 pandemic. Healthcare facilities began to reopen their doors. Governor Beshear is calling this phase one, and it is part of his Healthy at Home initiative. But there is a guidance that needs to be followed in order to reopen. PPE must be worn by everyone in the facility, and everyone must be screened upon arrival. The Public Health Commissioner says if these steps can't be followed, the offices don't have to open. And if they have a positive coronavirus case, they may have to shut down at least for a period of time.
We would probably prefer to wait even longer before lifting any restrictions, but we're trying to balance competing societal needs. People's need to get back to work, people's need to perform other important functions in society, people's need to pursue their lives.
It's such a delicate balance. Eventually, other businesses will follow suit in the reopening, but again, the governor says when that happens, it will be different than before. Keith, I'm really hoping that this initial phase one shows good results and not a spike in cases, because I'd love to see things get moving.
It feels good, doesn't it, just to hear that there are some things that are opening up, which is great. But earlier this morning on a station Zoom call, Nancy Cox was talking about her brother being a dentist and how he doesn't know that he's going to be able to open because they don't know if they have all the PPEs that they can use for their office. So it's kind of a, will this happen, won't this happen for some?
I know. It's a delicate balance. It truly is. When should a patient be considered free of the coronavirus? Well, some Kentucky health officials have decided to change their definition after some victims tested positive after being cleared. A health department serving Scott, Harrison, and Nicholas County says more than 36 patients who were considered recovered from the virus were retested. 11 of them came up positive. Meanwhile, hospitals are reminding the public that ERs are still available to them. The chair of UK's ER department says they're seeing about a 50% drop in patients since the virus hit. They say they understand people are afraid of exposure, but want them to know staff is screening people at the door and wearing PPEs. Also, there are 2 ERs, one for COVID-19 patients, the other for non-COVID-19 cases. And Keith, maybe it stays in your body longer than we thought. I also believe there's been a lot of people that have tested negative for coronavirus that have actually had it.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too early and then came back later on and they find out they've got it. I thought it was interesting to hear, though, that we do have the ERs open for everybody, because I think that was something. We just don't know everything that's going on out there. And to hear that they've got the 2 separate sides, it's kind of like when you take your kid into the doctor's office and they've got the sick waiting area and the healthy waiting area. So good to know that you can go in if you need to. But yes, certainly there is more testing going on. So hopefully that will take care of some of those that you were talking about, negative early, positive later.
Absolutely. Now we return to a topic that we've talked about repeatedly on the show, Brady Industries. The troubled aluminum mill project in Boyd County is back in the headlines as the Ashland Independent newspaper obtained court filings from the lawsuit between ousted CEO Craig Bouchard and the company's board of directors. Among the many allegations against Bouchard, telling potential investors that the project could be moved to Mexico and staging a series of publicity stunts to convince the media that things were on track. The defendants also claimed the company had only $11 million cash on hand starting this year, likely going out of business by June. Bouchard has defended himself repeatedly, including sharing an affidavit from his personal assistant on social media that says he engaged in no financial misconduct. And Keith, even if that part is true, he was certainly misleading people about this happening in Boyd County.
I mean, it really does sound like there's just so much from, whether it be the finances, whether it be, hey, we may make it move to this area, that area. It's like there was a lot of pressure to make it happen all of a sudden in Boyd County. And you're right, it just seems like there was a lot of misleading information in order to make that happen.
They never, Craig Bouchard especially, we had him on this show. He never strayed away from, yes, this is definitely happening. Everything is fine here. Meanwhile, flames in the background. Don't look behind me, but yeah, it's a disaster. I doubt that it will ever happen now. Let's talk some sports. Former Cats have new homes in the NFL following this weekend's NFL draft. Lynn Bowden was taken by the Las Vegas Raiders in the third round with the number 80 overall pick. The versatile playmaker got the good news from Coach John Gruden.
I'm excited as hell. I've wanted to coach you from the first time I met you, man.
Yes, sir. I've been waiting on your call.
All right, man. We're going to turn the pick in. You're going to be a Las Vegas Raider. Congratulations, Lynn.
Appreciate that, Coach.
Oh my gosh, it moved me to tears. Former Kentucky lineman Logan Stenberg heard his name called in the fourth round by the Detroit Lions. Stenberg told his new team that his goal is to end the guy across from him on every snap. Other Cats didn't get drafted, but were still contacted by NFL teams as free agents. Among them, Ahmad Wagner landed with the Chicago Bears. Defensive lineman Calvin Taylor got a call from the Steelers, and defensive tackle TJ Carter is headed to the Arizona Cardinals. As of this afternoon, fan favorite Cash Daniel had not been picked up. Keith, Lynn Bowden is going to what looks to be a perfect fit for him.
And to move him to a running back, I mean, that just sounds perfect because I heard somebody compare him, and honestly, I hadn't even thought about this, comparing him to Christian McCaffrey, and he could be that type of player where you give him the ball out of the backfield and then you line him up outside in a slot position or just anywhere at wide receiver. Just get him the ball and he'll make things happen. We saw that in the college game.
That's absolutely true, and Logan Stenberg is nasty. I think he got into a good position for himself, too. All right,
Yes.
Coach Mark Stoops updated us on the state of Kentucky football today. Stoops is preparing as though the season will start as planned September 5th, but he knows the coronavirus may have other plans. Around the sport, talk of delaying the season and playing games without fans are the two most prominent alternatives. It may work for the NFL, but Stoops does not see a world where college football is played in an empty stadium.
I think there are definitely some different challenges for us. I think, the first thing that comes to mind is there's going to be a lot of critics out there, the optics of it, to say that you're going to have college players out there that are allowed to play and line up 6 inches apart from each other and breathe on each other, sweat on each other, get in big piles and do all that, but you're not allowed to have fans in the stadium. I mean, that's going to be the first thing you hear, right?
Keith, it may be also because they're not getting paid. NFL players are at least getting a check if they have to play not in front of fans.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of doesn't make sense when you think about that, and especially the way you put it, lining up 6 inches apart and just, I mean, if they're going to do that, there should be fans there sitting right side by side if they want to be there and cheering on the kids.
Listen, Josh Paschal has been through a lot. You would have to think that his treatment may have, compromised his immune system a little bit. There are other guys like that play college football. That wouldn't make sense to me to have that out there.
I mean, if fans can't be there, they shouldn't play the games because then you're putting those players at risk.
Absolutely. Now in Hey Kentucky, in case you missed it, a review of recent headlines. Governor Beshear has vetoed abortion legislation, which would have given the state's anti-abortion attorney general the authority to regulate clinics. Daniel Cameron would have also been granted the power to suspend abortions as an elective procedure during the pandemic. Since the bill wasn't passed until the final hours of this year's session, lawmakers won't have the chance to override the veto. Up next on Hey Kentucky, I'll go one-on-one with the big dog. UK football assistant Vince Miro talks with me about a lot of things during this most unusual offseason, including the draft. Stay with us.